Daniel Cormier put a piece out on social media through something the kids call Instagram. And he was thanking people and doing some of the things that you would do as you're exiting, but he finished it by saying, "It's been a hell of a ride, huh?" And I love the finish, and it read really well. It just read really well. But he did ask a question. He said, "Huh?" followed by a question mark. I'm going to answer his question. Yeah, Daniel, it has been a hell of a ride. And a big talk that's come up is, what will Daniel Cormier's legacy be? This is way too early to answer that. I mean, the mere definition of legacy and what a legacy entails, you really can't form that opinion within a week. Period of time has to go by to know what a guy's legacy, how was he looked back on. I will tell you there's some things that he will not get credit for, but he should. Let me give you an example. I remember being a little kid, and every kid's done this at some point, right? Goes to mom and pleads the case. "Hey, mom, I went to school today. I got all of my work done. I was a good boy. I brushed my teeth." And then comes the ask. "So can I stay up past my bedtime and watch this show?" And mom always comes back with the same answer. It's universal, which is, "Why would you get credit for doing what you're supposed to do?" Right? Something along those lines has happened to absolutely all of us. Something along those lines of, "Oh, why would you be rewarded for doing what you're supposed to do?" Well, not the world's greatest answer by a parent, in all fairness. Doing what you're supposed to do is kind of counter to what human beings do. And when you look at Daniel Cormier, who was in a division and even had rivals along the way that were a mess, but the rivals would get cheered and Daniel would get booed. I mean, do you remember when Daniel was at a press conference and he was genuinely confused and he asked a question of the audience, but it was very genuine. So he said, if you haven't seen this, picture it within your head, okay? Daniel's at a press conference with John Jones. Dana's in the middle. You guys have seen press conferences. And John Jones tells the crowd, I've been clean for 8 months. No drugs in 8 months. And the crowd, they're so proud of him. They're so proud of him and they're cheering for him. Comes over to Daniel. And Daniel genuinely asked the crowd, he goes, "Guys, I don't understand. You're giving him credit because he hadn't done drugs in 8 months. I haven't done them in my whole life." And the crowd starts booing. They're booing him that he hadn't done drugs in his whole life. But I mean, it's a very relevant thing. Daniel is a guy at the highest of levels who lived through the cheating era. The era that got so bad where it was just part of the culture. The same way you get up and you hit mitts or you jump rope or you go to practice. You're taking performance enhancers. Like this was a real thing within the era. Never touched it. Got so bad within Daniel's era, they had to insert USADA at a $10 million a year expense. I mean, things were that bad. Daniel didn't know anything about it. Changed weight classes, kept his work up, kept every fight, made weight, whether he had to grab a towel or not, did everything he was ever supposed to do. On time, every time, professional. Oh, and by the way, the one they don't tell you in the textbook. Doesn't hurt in life to be nice. Daniel's nice. Like when I tell you that Daniel's loved, that is a very different word. By example, you will hear George Masvidal is loved. But it's different. It's very different. People are in awe of Masvidal. They're also intimidated. They might not run over. They want to run over, but they might not. They might look at him from a distance. They might snap a photo. Daniel, it's different. So George would be more like respected and appreciated and popular. Very good things, all compliments. Daniel's loved. It's different. People can see a kindness from that guy. People will go up and want a moment of his time, and they'll get it. Absolutely 100%. Anybody that wants it, they'll get it. But there's a kindness that comes through him, and he is a fierce competitor. That's where it ends. I mean, he's very Stipe-esque in that regard. It's very rare that you can have such a big fight. And these guys had such a big fight, they did the son of a bitch 3 times. Okay? Big fight times 3. When you've got these two guys that are the same guy, there's no conflicting attitudes or personalities. You're never going to read anything, ever, tabloid-esque about either one of them. It's very rare that you have really big fights like that. Generally, you have to have like an opposing character. a yin and a yang, just very common. These guys were the same guy, but they were such fierce competitors and had so much respect by all of their peers and everybody else. You go, okay, look, go do it, and we're on board. Times 3. It's just one of these things, and going back to Daniel being loved, very unique word, a word that gets thrown out a lot, but unique in this regard with him, because it actually pertains to the definition of love. But to watch that happen was a real study within the sport and the psychology of the fan, because Daniel has never changed. Daniel's the same guy doing the same thing. Treated everybody nice before, treats them nice now. Things just didn't change him. Takes a nice, humble job, high school wrestling coach, puts a staff together, gives of his time. I mean, there's a lot of things there. There's a lot of things that have locked him in and grounded him. Kept everything above board, kept him steady, kept him focused, right? People didn't used to like him, let alone love him. They didn't even like him. There was people that wanted him gone. There was people when he got put into the Strike Force Grand Prix, his first opportunity at something major within the sport of MMA, didn't want him there. And they weren't questioning his skills or even that he could go very far in the tournament. They just didn't want him there. And I've been to press conferences where he's getting booed. Been to these things, but he never changed, and now he's loved. I have not been to a press conference in 2 years where he's booed. I have not seen anybody have any hate for Daniel Cormier, literally in years, but he's the same guy. I was given a piece of advice when I was younger from Roddy Piper. And I only got to meet Piper like 2 or 3 times in my life, and it was very, very, very quick. I was teammates with his son, Cole. I only got to meet him very, very quickly. But one of the things that he said, hey, don't ever forget this. Keep doing what you're doing. Eventually, people will love you. They're going to love you for the very same things that they right now hate you for. And I remember where I was when he said it. I remember the whole thing very clearly, and I didn't know what the hell he was talking about when he said it. It made absolutely no sense. They are going to love you for the same things they now hate you for. What? That doesn't make sense. It was so true. I mean, it was so true of a statement, and I have seen guys doing it. I have seen it happen. It's going to happen with Colby Covington, by the way. I mean, just to prove my point that when Piper said it to me, and it was such a surprise, just so you guys know, you're going to right now go, Chael, that's not true. That's never going to happen. Yes, it will. It 100% will. People are going to get on board. He's going to get nothing but standing ovations. And right now he's getting all these boos and all this other energy. And he's not going to change. But the crowd will change. The audience will change. And it was very prevalent for me to stand back and see this happen for Daniel. I've seen other guys go from cold to hot. Cejudo, by example, cold to hot, but they changed. He changed the presentation, boom, crowd got on board. I'm talking about a guy who doesn't change. It's rare, and it's something very special to see to prove the point that Piper had told me when I was young. And Piper was a real master of psychology. I mean, that's what the wrestlers do. That's what the carnies do. They've got to manipulate an emotion. So he understood it on a level, and as simple as those words may sound, it was just something in my life when I heard it, the heck, didn't make any kind of sense, and I started to see it. And I always reflect back, that's what he was telling me that day. And on Daniel, it was just one of these things that was very obvious. And he won't ever be given praise for doing things right. The old adage of your mother, why would I ever reward you for doing what you were supposed to do? It's a true thing. But, I mean, just this morning, I see John Jones sends out a tweet, juxtaposing this. Sends out a tweet that USADA had already been to his house. USADA was at his house this morning. And there's a message in that. It's not to let us know what he's doing. It's to let you know I am clean. Now, I don't know if you get credit for passing drug tests when you failed as many as he has. I used to have the record. I got beat. John Jones took my record away. Only guy's failed more tests than I have. One of these things. I also, later in my, was getting credit for not failing. Hey, man, great job. Way to change that behavior, you know. Saw you grow up and you made some mistakes, but really great that you're back on track. I would get credit for these things, and now John is getting credit for these things. He's asking for it. He's letting people know. Pat on the back. brings you back to Daniel's point, which is, okay, these guys haven't broken the rules in a period of time. I've never broken the rules. And it's just one of those things, as you talk about his legacy, I mean, so much praise that he gets. There's going to be so many wonderful things. It's going to take some time. Time has to go by. That's what legacy means. But I'm very comfortable in telling you that's one thing he won't. He won't be remembered for, but should.